Thank you, Madam Moderator and President Grímsson, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is really a pleasure to be with you all here today at the Arctic Circle Abu Dhabi Forum, focusing on the Arctic and the Third Pole. What lessons can we learn from the Arctic Council that could benefit in the context of the Third Pole? Before trying to answer that, allow me to give a short description of what the Arctic Council is and what it does, in my opinion. I know that Mead Treadwell will talk a little bit more about its sort of history later on, because he was very much involved at the beginning of the Council. The Arctic Council is a consensus-based forum for cooperation between the 8 Arctic states and the 6 organizations, the so-called permanent participants, that represent the indigenous peoples in the Arctic. The Arctic Council has furthermore opened its doors to close to 40 observers from the ranks of states, international organizations, and non-governmental organizations. The Council works on common Arctic issues, focusing on sustainable development and environmental protection. It is not an international organization, and it is explicitly stated in a footnote in its foundational document, the Ottawa Declaration, that it shall not deal with military security. Furthermore, there is a tacit understanding that the Council should not engage on issues of management of natural resources. The Council has Arctic inhabitants at the center of its focus. There are around 4 million people living in the Arctic, and thereof over 500,000 are indigenous. The Arctic inhabitants have a greater stake and more to contribute than others when it comes to Arctic affairs, but are often far removed from the halls of power. That applies in particular to the Arctic indigenous peoples, who have for centuries mastered sustainable way of living that we are now all striving for. Regretfully, modern times are fraught with examples of indigenous peoples all over the world being marginalized. It may therefore very well be one of the Arctic Council's most distinctive features that we have the 6 permanent participants seated at the table with the 8 Arctic states with full participatory rights, save for voting. The basic commodities of the Council are facts and knowledge. It collects, organizes, analyzes, and distributes knowledge and facts within its fields of operation. A good day in the Arctic Council is a good report, but the reports are of little use if they don't lead to action. And it has always been a clear objective of the Council to influence policy shaping and making in its fields of operation. And the Arctic Council has had great success in that regard over its close to 3 decades of operation. The Council has been at the forefront of making sustainability a key policy goal at the local, national, regional, and international level, always emphasizing a balanced approach between social development, environmental protection, and economic development. At the beginning of this century, the Arctic Climate Impact Assessment helped to draw the world's attention to the human-driven climate change that we are now widely recognizing as a climate crisis. The Council has also agreed to an impressive body of policy recommendations and even some non-binding action plans. And Arctic Council work has helped inspire or led to a number of international agreements. The Arctic Council works at 3 main levels. First, we should mention the Arctic Council proper at the level of foreign ministers that meets every 2 years at the end of each chairmanship period. The ministerial meetings give political guidance to the work of the Council and serve as the most important tool to communicate the results of the work. At the second level and in between the ministerial meetings, a body of senior Arctic officials composed of Arctic ambassadors and other high officials take care of policy guidance and oversight and meets normally 2 to 4 times per year. At the third level, we will find the 6 working groups and other subsidiary bodies of the Council, normally running well over 100 different projects dealing with the diverse areas of cooperation that the Council has decided to engage on. Despite worsening international relations following Russia's unlawful annexation of Crimea in 2014, the Arctic Council was still able to operate in a relatively uninterrupted manner until a year ago. Russia's war of aggression and invasion into Ukraine last February changed all of that, and the other 7 Arctic states announced on 3rd March 2022 that all regular meeting and project activities would be put on hold until further notice. Beginning of June last year, it was decided that those Arctic Council projects that are without direct Russia involvement would resume. These constitute somewhere between half and 2/3 of all Arctic Council projects. It is thus clear that the high-level policy work of the Council is severely restricted while Russia continues with its war of aggression on Ukraine. Russia's chairmanship of the Council will come to an end next May, and Norway will take over the chair. It remains to be seen what modalities will be worked out for the transfer of the chairmanship to Norway, but at least the Council is driving forward with a sizable part of its work at the project level. However regretful this situation is, it still shows the resilience of the cooperation method of the Arctic Council. So in conclusion, what lessons could we take from the Arctic Council that could be of value in the context of the third pole? I have limited knowledge myself of the challenges people are dealing with in the Himalaya region, but from afar I can still see many striking similarities. Like in the Arctic, we see global warming posing comparable challenges in terms of receding glaciers and other issues that transcend national boundaries. We have several different states involved that may sometimes be at odds on many issues, but will have to be able to put such differences aside and cooperate. And lastly, we have the local inhabitants that need to be put at the center of things. Considering all this, I will offer 3 thoughts. First, focus the cooperation on facts and knowledge and build the cooperation bottom up, meaning that emphasis should be placed on building collaboration between scientists, scholars, and respective government agencies. Second, ensure strong representation of the local inhabitants, ensuring that traditional and local knowledge is always applied. Third and last, focus on using science and knowledge cooperation to build foundations for policy shaping and making. Policy makers should respect and make use of knowledge and facts rather than fighting or denying uncomfortable truths. Thank you.